Shuanghe Jing Si Hall, Tzu Chi volunteers assisted in vaccination for teaching staff, hoping to achieve herd immunity. Tzu Chi volunteers in Malacca reached out to a hospital and a prison to provide much-needed supplies where necessary. 歡迎收睇DaAi Headlines， 我係 Ruby 我哋一齊嚟睇下今日嘅內容。In Taiwan, teaching staff in elementary school have begun vaccination. Among the 4 vaccination sites in New Taipei City, Shuanghe Jing Si Hall was assisted by medical staff from Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital. More than 30 volunteers were also mobilized to provide the best support.
In Shuanghe Jing Si Hall, volunteers and doctors mobilized to assist the New Taipei City government to vaccinate teaching staff. From rejection to waiting for injections, Tzu Chi volunteers guide and greet the teachers at every station, making the teachers feel warm.
As soon as we came in, volunteers guide us where to start in line, so we will know where to go. Otherwise, we don't know the direction.
There are 3 movement lines with 3 physicians to inject vaccines simultaneously, while nurse and team are volunteers to provide the best backing.
Approximately 1,366 people were vaccinated in one day. We divided vaccination into 2 sessions, morning and afternoon. Our medical staff went to their sitting place to inject. In less than 1 hour, we have completed more than 180 injections.
Logistical volunteers were busy preparing the gifts, including salty porridge, soy milk powder, and blessing charms to be given to the people who finish vaccination. To prevent the pandemic, volunteers wrap tightly all over.
After I put on the protective clothing, I felt the same as the medical personnel. I have too much sweat that can be squeezed out. It's really hot, and some even get a rash.
Lin Xuefang has been volunteering in the vaccination station for a month and has never been absent. As she needs to face a large number of people every day, she can only keep a safe distance from her family after returning home.
My family has not been vaccinated, so I try not to get close to my grandchildren. Of course, I will also be sad, but I think I still have to serve.
In the fight against the invisible virus, everyone is working together, hoping to achieve herd immunity soon.
Recently, Tzu Chi cooperated with the Nantou County Government to provide healthy fruits and vegetable boxes for 2,063 disadvantaged families. The supplies were sent to school campuses for families to collect. Those who are unable to pick up supplies had them delivered by teachers or Tzu Chi volunteers.
It's inconvenient for them to receive supplies, so volunteers send it to their home. 2 large boxes of supplies and rice can fill the stomach of these recipients and calm their mood.
It's very comforting. Yes, it gives peace of mind. I'm also able to continue working hard. Thank you for your company. I feel more at ease.
The son of the old couple passed away 2 years ago, and Tzu Chi volunteers started to accompany them. This time their grandson was on the list to receive supplies provided by the school.
My eldest son left suddenly, and it made me feel that we were really helpless. Many noble people have helped us.
Daring to face such difficulties, they are not alone. During the pandemic, Tzu Chi provided daily necessities as well as fruits and vegetable boxes to 2,063 disadvantaged families in Nantou. The materials were first sent to the campus, and the school contacted the families to collect them.
The distribution of the supplies this time allows our children and their families to get a lot of help.
The 42-year-old Ms. Hong happens to be a family that Tzu Chi has been caring for a long time. She raises 5 children as a single parent. The eldest is 22 years old, and the youngest is only 8 years old.
The master is very concerned about everyone. This is for everyone to be able to tie over this difficult time together, and please calm your heart.
Affected by the epidemic, Ms. Hong's breakfast shop temporarily closed as she now works as a cleaner to maintain her family.
In the past, if they ate at school, the food cost per day would not exceed $6. But now it may cost $12 to $18 a day now.
These aid materials have all arrived in time, allowing those feeling a heavy economic burden to finally breathe a little easier.
Since the pandemic, Tzu Chi volunteers have organized online cultivation class for members to learn Dharma. Recycling volunteer Danny Yingxiang, who is 83 years old, suffered a stroke 3 years ago, causing the left side of her body paralyzed. She once wanted to end her life. Through the care of the Dharma family and the online cultivation class, she became optimistic and cheerful. She can also do recycling with the help of her foreign caregiver.
At 9:30 in the morning, the Lotus Sutra online cultivation started on time. Tzu Chi volunteer Chen Defeng got her book and mobile phone ready to meet online with Tzu Chi volunteers from all over the world. However, as many young and elderly people are not familiar with 3C products, she quickly figured out a solution.
I found that their mobile phones are quite old, and many of them have hired foreign caregivers who are relatively young and use relatively new mobile phones. So I asked these caregivers if they could lend their mobile phones to the elderly on the online cultivation day. I also taught them how to go online.
83-year-old recycling volunteer Zhanli Yingxiang, assisted by her foreign caregiver and Chen Defeng, attended the online cultivation of the Lotus Sutra successfully.
I used to go to community study group. It's just for companionship. I didn't learn it seriously, just sat and learned. Someone asked me to go, and so I was there. Now in this online cultivation, I get to understand more.
Using modern technology, the sutra is no longer difficult to understand. Even the caregiver also has the opportunity to get to know the Dharma.
I just understand a little about the Dharma. Yet I think it's fine to help grandma operate a mobile phone.
对对对。可以啊。可以。顺手这样子。对。
Zhanli Yingxiang suffered a stroke more than 3 years ago, and the left half of her body was paralyzed, making her once very depressed.
I would cry when I saw my friends come. Sometimes I have a good temper, but sometimes I will complain about my half-paralyzed body and cried. I even asked the board chief to give me poison to commit suicide.
给我6片老鼠药。
At this online cultivation, I found that she opened up her mind. Let them listen to the Dharma more, their minds will be opened up. Just like what the master has said before, when there is the Dharma, there is energy.
After turning her mind over, Zhanli Yingxiang, accompanied by her foreign caregiver, continued to sort recyclables in the community building. Her life has become better as her worries subside.
I told her to do heavy stuff for me, while I do the light ones because I can do it with my hands. I try to teach her to open the paper bag for me. She is indeed a good helper.
Using modern technology, the senior bodhisattva draws positive energy from online cultivation, settling her mind with growing wisdom. This is really a reward of the Level 3 pandemic alert.
The cause of the pandemic is difficult to measure, with some predicting that the birth rate of Taiwan will decrease, which is the same as Japan, whose birth rate hit a new low. Although the government has released a rescue plan for childcare centers, some fear that demographic trends will mean that industry will not be able to survive the pandemic. Because of my current work in pandemic prevention and screening, it is impossible for me to ask for leave. That is, I have to work on the front line to help the public.
There is a need for home care and even more medical care. Those are us, our frontline social workers. what needs to assist and rescue. My profession means that I cannot work at home at all.
During the Level 3 COVID alert, work at home is encouraged, but the father of this child is a doctor and the mother is a nurse. Both are at the forefront of pandemic prevention, leaving their 2-year-old baby unattended. How can these pandemic prevention heroes fight with peace of mind?
Suddenly, I was shocked. What should I do? Where should I send our child?
The Social Affairs Bureau of Taipei City and the Social Affairs Bureau of Kaohsiung City said no one cannot accept cases. New Taipei City, Taichung, and Tainan City said small numbers are permitted, only for those parents who have special needs. There are different requirements among municipalities.
The executive order tells us that daycare must stop but work. However, not every parent can take care of their children at home.
During this wave of the pandemic, we have heard that daycare is not allowed, but classes are continuing. How are these childcare centers able to pay their teachers under this arrangement as they can't accept any children?
It can be said that many are caught off guard because the only income of childcare centers are childcare fees.
This time we especially include all private childcare centers. They were notified to stop their operations, so included them in our subsidies.
Taiwan's fertility rate is already very low. We are worried because after the pandemic in Japan, the birth rate dropped by 20,000.
Regarding childcare centers and nanny, some 1.34 billion NT dollars have been allocated.
Relief subsidies are not enough. For a small child care center, as an example, with 30 children, their original monthly income will be 570,000 NT dollars. With 6 teachers, 1 supervisor, and 1 kitchen staff, 8 people can apply for subsidies, receiving 320,000 NT dollars. It's hard to cover costs in just 1 month, but these subsidies are only doled out once and not on a monthly basis. Still, many have fixed expenses every month, and the larger the school, the greater the impact.
Including teachers' salary, the teachers' labor and health insurance, the rent, the other costs, this subsidy only can cover 1 month. And for the second and third months, you still have to find a way to survive. As there is no source of income, we have to just think of the solution by ourselves.
In the war against COVID, no one knows when schools will be closed as experienced teachers take the initiative to take annual leave.
It is a difficult time for everyone because, in fact, we know that there will be a 50% drop in children.
From June onward, some children have been sent to this child care center, but the teacher-student ratio is super exclusive.
About 5 or 6 children come every day, and there are 5 or 6 teachers, so the teacher-student ratio is almost 1-to-1.
The regulations for refunding child care costs differ amongst municipalities, with Taichung City being the most impacted.
In fact, in our nursery contract, you have to suffer from infectious diseases, and you must suffer the secondary infectious diseases to refund the fee, regardless of whether it has been confirmed or not.
Taichung City is a very exceptional place. Its infectious disease law states a 100% refund, which is equivalent of all fees. This will cause many childcare centers in Taichung City to fail.
At present, there are about 1,300 childcare centers in Taiwan. There have been reports in counties and cities that many such operators are unable to continue. The pandemic continues, it may cause yet another wave of childcare centers to collapse.
The pandemic in Malaysia continues to rage. As the number of confirmed cases continues to rise, the medical capacity is getting tight. Tzu Chi Malacca chapter donated hospital beds to a hospital so that more patients can receive appropriate care. Volunteers also sent dry food to a prison where a cluster infection occurred and faced food shortage. The truck carries 10 beds that Tzu Chi is going to deliver to Malacca General Hospital. The pandemic in Malaysia continues to affect the whole city, making the health system getting tight. The Malacca General Hospital is short of hospital beds and staff. Tzu Chi volunteers fully assisted, serving as the strongest support of the hospital.
Thank you, Tzu Chi, for providing us with the much-needed medical resources. Tzu Chi is very active and always helps us in the past. Before the pandemic, Tzu Chi volunteers also went to the hospital to accompany patients.
In addition to providing the hospital with medical supplies, volunteers also purchased food and daily necessities for Penjara Dusun Dato Murad, which has a cluster infection amongst 8 staff and 29 inmates. They faced food shortage during quarantine.
In fact, many organizations and societies have been donating materials. They are doing well and quick as well, combining everyone's efforts together to achieve the donation.
Our prison cherishes the help and cooperation provided by Tzu Chi. Actually, it's not the first time Tzu Chi assisted us. In the past, Tzu Chi has donated supplies about 4 to 5 times.
Everyone is responsible for curbing the pandemic. Volunteers shoulder the responsibility to send anti-epidemic supplies whenever necessary. In Malaysia's Kuala Lumpur, for those living in Wan Samaju, this lately wave of the pandemic has hit them hard, and the city government has asked Tzu Chi for help to supply them with 450 packages of food supplies to tide them over. Next, we see how the parents of Tzu Chi International School and the community came together to help assemble the packages.
The impact of the pandemic and the movement control order in Malaysia has made the residents of Kuala Lumpur's Masa Manju in despair. They are nearly out of food and need assistance. Kuala Lumpur City sought help from Tzu Chi, asking for 450 packs of aid supplies. Tzu Chi volunteers had about 40 community volunteers sign up to help assemble the packages, including parents from the Kuala Lumpur Tzu Chi International School, some of whom took time off from work to come help.
Actually, because I always, since now with the whole COVID situation, I know a lot of people are suffering there. So I was actually wanting to help out, but I just didn't know how. So when I found out that actually Tzu Chi was helping out, so I said this is a perfect opportunity for me to also volunteer. Also set an example to my kids as well.
We are here to help assemble the packages because people out there really need help. When I heard there were people who are nearly out of food, especially those migrant workers, I was devastated.
We are all Malaysian. We should help each other.
Many have been impacted by the spread of the pandemic, and Tzu Chi's assistance during this time has helped to relieve much burden.
I submitted the paperwork for help on the 13th, and I got notice the next day that Tzu Chi will send supplies to us on the 16th. It was so immediate, and I was surprised and very moved. When I told the neighborhood, everyone was so happy about it.
During this difficult time, the whole of Malaysia stands together to battle this virus.
Wuhan, Hebei, China was hit by a tornado in mid-May, damaging many houses. Since the past 2 months, Tzu Chi volunteers have been visiting affected residents for many times. On this recent trip, 14 kinds of daily necessities, including rice and cooking oil, were prepared, helping a total of 113 families in 5 villages.
In China, after a tornado occurred in mid-May, Wuhan Tzu Chi volunteers visit Taidian district for the first time. On this trip, volunteers prepare some supplies for summer use. Seeing the familiar figures, affected residents could not help but think of the horrible moment at that time. Tzu Chi's assistance at this time is mainly for families with severe disaster or extremely needy families. A total of 113 families have been helped.
After the tornado, Tzu Chi came to us to learn about our disaster. This time, Tzu Chi also distributed summer heat relief supplies to our survivors. Their supplies are more considerate, and they are indeed very helpful.
The materials we received from Tzu Chi today are very practical, and they are needed by families. It happens to be what the affected residents here really need at home. We are very happy and moved.
After supplies were given, the volunteers conducted home visitation again. The roof of DaAi Jing's house was completely overturned by a tornado. 3 large holes were smashed into a wall, and it was being rebuilt on the spot. Volunteers are here to care.
因为上一次过来的话呢，看到这个家里面的情况，我们心里面也是很不忍心，很不忍心。所以这一次发放结束以后呢，我们说那抽空的话呢，我们还是再来看一下尽我们的一份心。这么热的天，还是多喝水，多休息啊。这个已经房子慢慢起步了，之后慢慢的会做好的好不好啊？
The comfort of volunteers made the elderly feel a lot at ease. Before leaving, the volunteers give them blessings, looking forward to seeing them next time in their new house.
In Quanzhou, Fujian, a pair of siblings were left alone after their father was hospitalized with a stroke last month, yet their mother passed away suddenly. At a young age, they didn't know how to organize housework, so the whole house was a mess. After learning about this, the volunteers mobilized to assist in cleaning.
The whole house was piled up with items, and everything was a mess. This is the home of the young sibling surnamed Zheng. Their father was hospitalized with a stroke last month, and their mother passed away suddenly. They were left behind and didn't know how to take care of the housework.
I hope to change the environment for them, then guide them and give them good habits. We hope that they can organize their lives and let them know how to take care of the environment.
Quanzhou Tzu Chi volunteers mobilized 15 people to come for the cleanup. In their mother's bedroom before her death, the floor was damp with crusted with equipment, and the volunteers endured the unpleasant smell to clean up.
If we are healthy, we can help people who are unhealthy. We help happily. We feel happy. Because we can move freely, we try our best to help.
We did it voluntarily, but of course we feel tired. Tired, but feel very gratified. Let us have the opportunity to give.
In addition to clean up the home, the volunteers also teach the young sibling how to keep the home clean.
Thank Tzu Chi volunteers for their hard work for them. Thank you very much.
After 3 hours cleaning, the house was completely new again. Afterwards, they can also take their father, who had a stroke, back home for recuperation.
To the volunteers from Kedah, Malaysia, donated a batch of much-needed medical equipment to a health center, relieving their tight medical capacity. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you and see you next time.